Okay, everyone. Okay, recording has started. Everybody should have a little privacy policy message up there for y'all as part of housekeeping. We are so excited to be here today. My name is Allie Johnston, CEO of Bell Tech Services, joined by Kelly Bledsoe of Toptek Recruiting. We have been talking offline for a couple of weeks now about the job market, specifically in the IT industry. Um, I just wanted to get Kelly on the line here today and see what can we do? What are any tips and tricks for to get past that ATS? What is actually going on and why is everybody getting ghosted? Kelly, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us everything about you, Toptek. How did you get started with Toptek? And, what's your experience in the IT industry? So excited to hear about it.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me, Allie. So my name is Kelly Bledsoe. I am the founder of Toptek Recruiting. We have been in business for about a year and a half, specializing in IT, and had probably about a total of 10 years recruiting experience, and between that and customer service and sales, 20 plus years. Not trying to age myself here. So woman owned, and what else did I leave out?
Who's your client? In other words, what kind of an employer or hiring manager, what are you looking for?
Pretty much any company that has an IT department or is looking to build out their IT department is going to be my typical customer or client. Between 50 to 500 employees would typically be the average size of the company. But of course, there are some larger ones as well. So we help in all fields of IT, starting from, admins all the way up to C-level.
Okay. And then who's you typically reaching out to you? Is it an HR department? I guess it depends on the structure or the direct hiring manager. Who's reaching out to you?
Usually the direct hiring manager.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Yes.
I know I was in that corporate space years ago, and some HR departments are kind of controlling of that. So, that whole hiring process. So wasn't sure, but glad to hear that there's maybe it's a change in the environment in the space that the hiring manager can directly reach out to you. That's great. That's great to know because we'll actually touch on that in a little bit because um, we want to also talk about what are in those job descriptions and you know we'll get into it. But the first thing really what struck me was I had been hearing about all these jobs that were in cybersecurity, IT. I put on my LinkedIn, I said, I had even joined symposiums in my local area to talk about what can we do to attract people to this field because we need them. And then, of course, the cybersecurity education space, jumped on that. And now, there's like a ton of certificates, there's a ton of degrees, and so many people are getting into the field, which is fantastic. But then we hear the dismal side of it, right, Kelly? That people are applying for these jobs and they're just not getting them, or they're not even hearing back as what they're calling ghosted now. Um, what are you seeing? What kind of tips or what can you offer if you don't mind telling us?
Well, going back to your comment about the cybersecurity rules, there are a lot, and you did link that article
I
stating
did.
there were 4 million cybersecurity jobs that are vacant, but of them, only about 750 in the US. So that was just a worldwide number. Um, as far as breaking or getting employed, getting a job in cybersecurity, and why are people getting ghosted and having such rough time? it isn't just cybersecurity right now. It seems to just be the trend in general. There are so many applicants. I think it's a blend between the ATS and AI systems that are in place, along with the accessibility of and the ease of being able to apply these days. I mean, you click one button, especially on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's already got your profile and your resume. You do the one click apply. Well, everybody can do that. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that there are so many applicants that they just cannot all be reviewed. So a lot of times what will happen is the first people to apply are going to be the first ones that are considered. Once the company, whoever's reviewing the resumes, have reached 100 that they've gone through, and of the 100, there looks to be 10 fairly qualified applicants. They do their phone screening, they do their video meets, and then they introduce them to the hiring manager. The hiring manager is probably going to interview a handful of them and make a decision. So in the meantime, you've got 1,000 other applicants that are waiting to hear something that they're never going to hear. They weren't even looked at. So that's kind of what's going on right now and why it's so difficult for people to be able to actually land an interview.
I'm no expert, but from my, just looking at this from the outside, do we really have to? I'm going back, I'm going to date myself, way back when we still said on a resume, we would say references include, what was it? References included or references upon
Upon
request.
request.
Yeah, so I'm really dated. But now it's almost like, do we have to change our resume for each and every different job that we're applying for?
Um,
Not a resume, maybe a cover
almost,
letter or something.
almost. So if you are applying for a role that we're just going to throw out, let's say a software engineer, and the tech stack is these 5 things, and you have 4 of the 5 things, make sure that you point all of them out, each and everything out, and also follow the lingo that is being used on the job description. So sometimes, for example, AWS, Amazon Web Services, how did they post it? Because that's what the ATS is going to look for. So sometimes spell out the entire thing and put in parentheses AWS, however you want to do it, but make sure that you're pointing out each and every one of your skills that you have. Don't be making things up. But yes, if you tailor make each one of your resumes, at least changing a few things to make sure that you're including what the job description is stating, you're going to have a higher chance.
Okay. I'm also noticing a lot of jobs out there that talk about an entry level position. But then they're looking for, but then somehow in the job description, it says 3 to 5 years of experience required. But in my mind, that's not really entry level, is it?
Not in my mind either, but it is in other people's mind. And so I guess with searching for a job, it's their definition that's going to matter, right? So if they're saying it's an entry level role, but they're looking for 3 to 4 years experience, I would say that if you have 2 to 3 years, still apply.
What about, so all of these certificates and programs popped up recently, right? What is our best recommendation to the people that are getting out of those certificate or degreed programs? Um, they have no experience, you know. I can from a an MS as being a managed service provider, an IT company, I could I'll point out my recommendations, but from a recruiter standpoint, what are they looking at? what are they looking at really and realistically when they get out of school?
First of all, just keep an open mind. Unfortunately, a lot of people were sold the idea of getting into, let's just say, cybersecurity, getting their certificate, and then being able to earn, over $100,000 a year. That is something that's very attainable down the road. To start, probably not. It's going to be, and that's where I say keep an open mind, getting in at a higher help desk role or an admin role, network admin, something to that effect, a junior network admin. I know the compensation's not where, the six figures that you were hoping for, but that doesn't mean that it won't be in a few years. Just have to get your feet in to someplace and prove yourself and move up the ranks. And the good news is I have seen people move up the ranks fairly quickly. But you have to start somewhere. And so just being open on the compensation and the actual role, not maybe being what you anticipated.
Right. I think of it too, starting at help desk, really, if you're in any kind of an IT job, unless you're, a proficient software developer or proficient or C-level, starting at help desk, it's extremely valuable and helpful because you get to, like you said, move yourself up the ranks and you know everything about everything. And that's a super valuable skill set to have because IT is everything, right? Anything that connects to the internet, computers, phones, I mean, stuff that hasn't even been invented yet. Now AI. So there's so much to know. Um, so starting out at help desk, it's not a bad thing. I think it builds your skill set, in my opinion.
It
And then,
does.
yeah, and talking from a small business owner, I always tell people, look, you're going to have different requirements for every job, but there's also different requirements um, at different size like businesses, right? So if you're going for an enterprise job, we've got to think about, okay, do they need a college education? Do they need the certificate? If you look at smaller businesses, those kind of requirements kind of fall off. But again, you're not going to get that six-figure salary going to work for a small business, right?
Not
Um,
necessarily true.
okay,
Not necessarily true. There are some startups out there that were funded fairly nicely, and they do have the means to be able to bring somebody on at a fair market value. Different working for a startup than you are for an enterprise company. You're going to be wearing a lot more hats. You're in a smaller environment with a smaller group of people. Want to make sure that the synergy is good between you and all the other folks. But yeah, no, some are very handsomely funded. So
I
keep
like
that
that
in
point.
mind. Yeah, keep
Yeah,
that in mind. And I did see in the chat, just going back to our last topic, that most of us don't move up. We have to job hop to get better roles. And I do agree that there are some places that you are going to need to job hop. Who that was from an attendee. Um, and you know, there are many people that make it higher up the ranks and earn a lot more money by making those moves. Not saying that I recommend that you move every 6 months, but if you don't see any potential after, a year and a half and you've got some experience down, then why not start looking, but don't quit your job just yet because it is a tough market out there. Start looking, but hang on to what you've got until you find something better.
and actually they just added something. Most HR hiring managers are being particular now. I've been rejected for only missing one requirement. That's that's tough. That's stringent because
Yes.
in my everything I've been taught is go apply for that job. If you have 60% I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, Kelly, but that's what I've been told. If you've got 60% of the qualities, go for it.
It
Wow.
can't hurt, right? It can't hurt
Yeah.
to ask that theory. So I say go for it. But as this person has mentioned here, 3 rejections for missing one rec. But keep in mind that could have been the most important rec. It could have been a requirement. It could have been, so what happens with me is I'll get a request to do a search for a certain role, and I'll get that general job description that we all see posted, right? It's got about 20 different bullet points. We need this person with this many years, this tech stack, this experience, all the things. It's their wish list, right? And then we actually have a conversation with the hiring manager, and the story changes quite a bit. And the hiring manager has maybe 7 things that they're really looking for and 4 or 5 must-haves. So it could be that one of those must-haves was missing. So it is really hard to say, but I say if you've got almost all of them, why not throw it in your name in the hat?
One thing I want to bring from my hiring experience is just because you don't have, because some of them will put something, okay, AWS isn't a good example, but let's say you have uh, Google Workspace experience instead of Microsoft Business, Microsoft 365. I can still learn, once I know one portal, I can learn the other portal. Yes, I'm not going to be the perfect person to manage your Office 365 off the bat, but if I know Google Workspace, I'm going to be able to get my hands dirty and understand what needs to be done. Um, there's other applications, a Jira, your knowledge-based software. I don't care what knowledge-based software you use. If you've used one of them, you've used all of them. Am I going to need to train you? Yes, of course. But it's sometimes it's like riding a bike. you
Right.
know, like
Right.
maybe it's an expensive bike here, but it's a cheapo bike here, but it's still I know how to ride the bike.
Right, right. I understand what you're saying, but I have seen a lot of hiring managers, like if you don't have that, even if you have the equivalent but in a different tech, a
Yeah,
different brand, it's not going to fly because they definitely want to be able to have somebody to start and good to go
I
without
see.
that ramp up period in that training. They don't have the time, I guess, to do the training and the help. So they definitely need that tech stack that they're looking for, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is tough. I was always of a different mindset only because if I could get a good person that was going to be good to my, our customer who was the end user, as long as I was going to get a good person who was going to be good to them and, could find their way around and knew the basics, some very basic IT commands and things like that. I'm like, I could teach you anything. Yeah, I mean, I would always want you to get on that bike right away and start, riding and pedaling. I guess with any job, there's some sort of, you got to teach them something. And I understand at that enterprise level, you just don't have that time. And well,
Yeah.
even at the small business level, right? Because you're so, you're probably short staffed.
Well, so this isn't going to be 100% of all the hiring managers out there. There are some that
Right.
are willing to give people a chance and do want somebody that's a little green and that they can help them and kind of mold them into the person for that role. So keep that in mind. It's not for all roles, but more common than not, I do see that it's going to be, you have to have this stack or you
Someone
have to
else,
have this
yeah.
knowledge in order
so-
to.
Someone just said they were looking for a help desk app. They wanted them to have service now, and they didn't have service now, even though they had other ones. So that, in my opinion, that's a shame.
Right,
Um,
right. And
which Go ahead.
okay, go ahead. No, I was just saying they're those that I just mentioned are unicorns and they might be, but they are out there.
Yeah, yeah, for real. Um, well, it kind of leads me into another topic, which is networking. Um, Here's what I say. I say get your network before you actually need your network. And it is just so, I think it's invaluable. You've got to have a network. You've got to have people you can reach out to. Just in my small little world, I know a bunch of people, and I'm not saying I'm going to be able to get you a job, but at least I know someone who I could say, hey, this is a really good person. They've got a strong skill set because I think that personal recommendation goes a long way. What do you think, Kelly, about, getting this network together, especially for the people who are still in school?
Absolutely. Even if you don't mention as you, Allie, knowing a bunch of people, if you aren't proactively looking for, a job for this person, you might hear of something. And just because, this person reached out to you and said, I'm going to be graduating next month, or hey, I've been looking for work for the last 6 months, and it might just dawn on you that somebody may be looking. So networking is always going to be more important. I can't remember the exact number, but it was quite high. Um, oh, actually, right here, I have a little PDF I'm going to send to everybody, but it's 41% of jobs that are filled are through referrals.
Wow.
Yeah. So definitely reach out to your network. Don't burn any bridges. Keep in contact with everybody in all different areas, from managers to colleagues, coworkers. You never know when that might come in handy.
And staying on LinkedIn, I mean, I never was a LinkedIn person, but as soon as I, started consulting, I'm like, okay, this is where I need to be, this is where all the professionals are. And yeah, so I stress that to anybody who I'm mentoring or anybody that I'm talking to that is, looking to break in. Most of the people I talk to are looking to break into the space. That's just who I see.
Right.
And I'm just like, build that network, get on LinkedIn, start connecting with people. I mean, I used to think it was silly, but it is super important.
And there are people out there that you've never met that are just random people that you connected with on LinkedIn that are happy to help.
It's so true. I
Yeah.
just met I just met a gentleman in the physical security space. So I also dabble in physical security with another group I'm a member of, but and he just started posting all these fabulous, like very high level Fortune 500 jobs, in the physical security space. And it's like, thank you so much for doing that. That's a huge help for people, I think.
Right. Right. Right.
And then there's a bunch of different people that you can follow on LinkedIn, I think, that post a lot of valuable information, about jobs that are available. But like you said, it's so tough, you find this job on LinkedIn and 500 people have already applied.
And and there's also the whole fact that some of these jobs are posted because the companies have to post them, but the hiring manager already knows who they want. They just have to actually physically post that job.
Oh, like it was coming from an internal, yeah, someone,
So
I
if there's
see.
an internal candidate, they still have to post the job.
That's a real bummer. That's a fake job. I mean, in my opinion. I
Um,
know.
yeah, well, right. Somebody's pretty much decided who they're going to be hiring. So that is what there was a question in here regarding that. So, um, I can't find it right now, but oh, here, any response for jobs that have been posted or open for 2 months or more with no response from the company. So one, they're overwhelmed. Um, Two, they have somebody they already have in mind, but they have to work all the things internally out. Sometimes jobs get posted and then companies go through hiring freezes, but they just keep it up there. There's numerous reasons. There are fake jobs out there too, unfortunately. Um, to
Yeah.
pipeline candidates. Let's say that I have a conversation with a client and the client says that they're probably going to have an opening for this particular role in a month. And I'm overzealous, I could post that job. And then I never get and then it never actually goes to open, but it's just sitting out there, pipelining candidates. That could be another reason. So numerous reasons why jobs are out there with no response. Sometimes, and if they're just still sitting out there, it could just be one of those reasons, or maybe there's a high attrition to that role. People are in and out and they know that, so they just keep that up there.
I see someone says, yes, someone posted, only if your network is in good graces with the hiring manager. I've been rejected by two places with connections in my network so far. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's a
it's
tough
tough,
market.
but it is, and it's not just you. It is a lot of, I mean, a lot of people are going through it right now. Allie was mentioning to me that she had seen a person update their LinkedIn profile saying desperate instead of open for work. They changed it to, was it desperate?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not just you. Just keep your head up. Hopefully things will be changing now that the election's over with. We're about to approach a new year, new budgets. Maybe things will, hopefully we're all hoping that it's going to change for the better.
Also, I know that these programs, a lot of them also, I don't want to say promise, but they say they're going to help you. I don't know if our attendees are seeing any help in those areas, but it's definitely a place to start, right? The department in your school trying to get you a job. Um, I know a lot of the certificate programs say, "Oh yeah, we'll help you get a job." Hopefully they
Yes.
didn't guarantee it, right?
They don't guarantee it. I was involved in trying to assist with a college that offered these certificates, and the they were prepared to accept lower paying roles. So that was, at least they were prepared for that. But um, as far as like helping them actually find jobs, all I saw was them reaching out to us as a recruiting firm and asking us if we would interview these folks and see if we could find them a good fit.
I see.
Yes.
There wasn't much legwork on the back end. I mean, that's usually how it is. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And you know,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of very positive things that can come out of it, but don't expect that six figures right away. So that's the only thing that I can say. You're gonna have to get in there and get some, roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and really learn IT and have something on your resume besides just the education portion or the certificate.
yeah, even that if that's an internship. I know within my company, I try to help people with internships. Okay, I'm doing it with the local high school right now, so that's a little bit of a different story, but I've helped other people, just even if it's like a 6 week kind of a thing, just
Right.
to get your hands in there and, see what's going on and communicate with me and the staff and just, get your feet wet. And then
Right.
also have something to put on your resume. Oh, yeah, interned here for, X amount of months. Because I think that real world experience means a whole lot. Yes, the
Absolutely.
education too, but once you start, talking to people, you're collaborating, you're seeing real world problems, it means a lot. Even if it's only for, I mean, I don't know what your recommendation is, but I felt like even if it was only for 6 weeks, at least you did it. And I'm not saying that they 6 weeks and job topped. It was just like the program itself within my company was only 6 weeks.
Right, right, right. No, I mean, I highly recommend getting involved in something like that, but also getting a job in a role that is going to be, focused on getting you where you want to go. So like a network admin or something, but expect not to be paid top dollar. Expect going into the office every single day.
Yeah.
Expect to do those things for a while, but then either there's another opening that you are going to be able to move into, or eventually you find another role that's a much higher level, um, you know, 30% more pay, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, you got to prove yourself, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we've got any more questions or comments here that we should let's see. Okay, so you can tell a company as someone picked is when you see higher level close and a lower position open. Oh, I see. Okay, if you're paying attention to what positions opened and closed closely, then you can kind of tell, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, you said this person's been in the IT field for 20 years. Yep, 100% of my past jobs were obtained by resume only. Me too. Um, I guess it's just a little different out there right now.
Well, whoever is the person here in chat, have you worked with a recruiter in the past? I find, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a recruiter, but I also find that a lot of people, oh, you have done both. Okay. I've been able to help people out who have actually applied for the company, ended up in the big black hole. When I talked to them, I got an interview set up within 3 days of talking to them. And it's because I have a direct line to the hiring manager, and I will send an email directly to that hiring manager. It doesn't go through the whole HR portal and get lost somewhere and ATS has rejected you. I've already spoken to you. I've got all these notes about our conversation. I've got your resume ready, and I have a reason as to why I think you would be an excellent fit for this role. So making friends, back to that networking, making friends with recruiters is a really good idea. Um, and it's because we do have a direct line. So I have in past cases been contacted. So I've posted a job on LinkedIn, and I've had, 300, especially these remote jobs, guys. You got to hit the apply button ASAP when you see the remote jobs, because within 1 hour, I can have over 100 applications. So um, I've had people reach out because they saw that I posted the job and reach out to me personally and said, I see that you've got this, I've got these skills. So instead of actually a cover letter, they actually reached out to me personally on LinkedIn and sent a little snippet as to why they thought that they were a good fit. And then I would, dig for their resume and see if they were or not. So several people have done that and actually jumped in line because they flagged me down and made sure that I saw that they had applied.
And I imagine it's got to be a better way around than, hitting the apply now button. It is. It's so easy. You just have your resume up there and poof. I mean, I could see why there's hundreds of applicants. And like you said, we once you get inundated with hundreds of resumes, you just it's like message fatigue. You can't possibly sift through everything, right?
Right,
You
right. Well,
know?
I will tell you too, just so you know, there are so many unqualified applicants that apply to roles that have absolutely zero IT experience. Like they're in hospitality. They don't even have education in IT. So just so you know, some of those numbers, when LinkedIn says over 100 have applied, many of those 100 do not have the correct, they're all in completely different fields. So there's a lot of sifting and digging through resumes that we have to do, and that's why they have installed ATS systems with AI and whatnot. But that's where this whole, that's all kind of brand new. And then we've got folks that are really qualified that are being missed because they're missing keywords on their resume. So
And that's such a shame. It really is.
it
I
is.
see a lot of people complaining about that actually.
Oh, yeah. For
I want to
sure.
open this up. I know we've kind of had a little bit of, back and forth here with the attendees, but if there's anybody who wants to ask a question, you can put that in the Q&A or the chat. You can certainly apply, ask your question anonymously. Oh, okay. I see you posted something that said you want to see who's blowing up the chat. I think they are bots. That's another thing, right? I mean, you go in there and you see all these bots, right?
Yeah.
Even on LinkedIn. Well, I say even, they're on every social media. I'm gonna pull up your link that you sent. Let's see. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Open to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is it's tough. So now, Kelly, you said you have a PDF or something, some kind of a tip sheet you're gonna share with us?
I do. I do. So I've got one for candidates and one for clients. I think the most of us right now are more worried about the candidate tips. And I can share that with everybody and email that to you at the end. It's just going to talk about optimizing your resume, you know, LinkedIn alerts, your network. So a lot of the things that we've covered, but just something to take a quick look at. No, it's not you. It is the market right now. So I know that a lot of people have just been rejected or just feel like they're sending out endless applications and there's just no reply. And, out of 200 applications, you're getting one interview. I will say that with that one interview, make sure that you are doing your best to be prepared. Um, Make sure you dress well. You have really studied the job description, that your lighting is set up properly, that you feel comfortable. Most of our interviews these days are via some, Teams or Zoom. So if any of you need any interview prep tips, even I've been able to help people just set up their laptops so the lighting's better. Just those small things make a big difference. And kind of just going over some, just talking. If any of you need any assistance with that, please feel free to reach out to me. But I will go ahead and send the PDF to you just to take a look.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you for your time. And I see, oh, okay, so you put your, I'm so sorry, you had posted your LinkedIn. So if we're not connected, let's go ahead and connect. I would suggest that everybody on the call connects with both of us if you're not already connected. Um, while I'm not a recruiter, sometimes jobs come across my desk that I, will happily repost on LinkedIn. And, Kelly, of course, she's an excellent resource too. So just please go ahead and connect with us. And I'm always here no matter if you just want to talk and you want to hear, what I think about the job market from my perspective, from my lens, happy to chat about that. And I think I've chatted with a couple of you here on the call. So I'm always happy to do that. Let's see, we've got someone typing, I think. I just want to make sure we don't lose any questions here before we sign off. And Kelly, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so. But yes, please reach out and let's connect on LinkedIn. And like I said, I'm happy to help out if you are looking for work. And if it's not just through my company and I don't have a client, but I'm happy to just take time out to kind of go over any interview prep tips with you, get you as prepared as possible for your interviews.
I love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you agreeing to do this. I thought it was an important topic to touch on, and I'm glad we could help our, attendees here.
Yes,
Oh, this was a
absolutely.
good question, really, Kelly,
Okay.
before we go. If you see it in the chat, what are your thoughts on career gaps and whether
Mhm.
they negatively impact your prospects?
Okay, so with career gaps, what I have asked is, um, and it doesn't negatively impact all the time. So I can't control what the hiring manager, what the clients think. But if we have a good reason for the time off, had a child, had health issues, had to help an elderly mom, whatever the case may be. Now, if that is going to that I had one that went and hiked for a year through the Smoky Mountains, the Appalachian.
Appalachian.
Yeah, and so he couldn't, and he was a software developer. So I asked him, like, during this time, did you code it all? Did you? And he said no. And I asked him how that would affect him if, and he said, well, he was able to, pick up and do practice and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in order to stay relevant with his skills. So I think that would be the most concerning thing is if all that time off now, there was a whole different technology and now you're stepping back in 12 years later and that technology that you were using was irrelevant. But if it's just like a year or two gap, and you can explain it off, then that's fine. Being a stay-at-home dad for two kids, I mean, that makes sense. So as long as your skills are there, and also soft skills are very important. So remember that in your interviews. Make sure that your personality shows through because it's not just those hard skills. You want to be able to
Oh
have
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It
Sorry, I was just
yeah, I was looking at that too. Um those soft skills are so super important. You know, my philosophy is I could teach you anything. But
but
if you
that.
can't be, yeah, I can't. I
Yeah,
can't teach you those soft skills, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh. I think that also the networking comes back into play if you are taking that gap year or gap year to whatever it is, you can stay relevant, stay in the profession, go to webinars. You don't have to go to a professional networking event, but watch the webinars, keep up to date. What's going on with AI? Oh, let me follow this AI person on LinkedIn so I can stay relevant and stay up to date. Because as we all know, tech is changing so quickly. It staying staying educated in tech has to be part of your job, really. I mean,
Right,
it is part of my day to day. I got to see what's going on and
right.
keep up.
Work on certs, work on more certifications, do some classes. All of that helps you out too.
Yeah, there's tons of free training out there. I'm not saying how I don't know, all the trainings and how great they are, but there are tons of training opportunities out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thanks everybody so much for joining. We appreciate it. Look forward to Kelly's PDF that she's going to send you, and then she'll send that directly to you via email. Please, again, connect with us on LinkedIn, and we're so happy you joined us. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.